Hello and welcome to Sutro Sidetalk, episode 182. I'm your host, Kamron Shushtar, and with me is
James Seelig.
we are back after about 3 weeks. I think we've been gone.
Has it been three? I thought it was only two.
It was like 2 or 3 because it was like the beginning of February or early January was the last
Yeah, I know
episode,
we skipped my birthday
and then
because give me like a day off, and also it was like the Super Bowl the next day or something like that.
it was your birthday, and then I think your birthday was a different week than the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then we tried to record last week, and then just like for whatever reason, I was just like so exhausted. I was like, I could try to record, but I'd probably literally not understand what you're even talking about.
It's because the weekends were all busy. First it was your birthday one weekend, then it was the Super
Yeah.
Bowl, and I was just like, nah. And then I traveled, but otherwise we're like, let's try recording during the weekday, and then it was like it's just not happening this time. It's been a bit, I know, but we are back again, and we're not going to be like, oh, we're gone next week either, but we'll be here next week. And we've got a bit of stuff and some changes. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll actually notice it's a little bit different too. So we're experimenting a bit and trying out the kind of focus on whoever's talking. So instead of having two of us there side by side the entire time, whoever's talking, you'll see our face only for the most part, and then it'll switch to the next person. We'll see how it goes. It's also not just for YouTube, but also potentially for TikTok. Seeing when I put clips in, I actually did get a complaint so far. It's like, I hate the split TikTok because it's like, I think it takes up more room on this, like in the middle. So then it might, if you have just one person, it'll actually kind of fill the screen potentially more. I don't actually know. I haven't tried it yet. This will be the first one to do it for. But I think I'm already still back at like episode 148 for clips, and we're like 82. We're not doing all of them. I'm not like editing every single one of those episodes. Only the ones where like, oh, this is still potentially relevant and popular, and I'll throw it in there. But yeah. So change, like I said, for visual, YouTube and TikTok. And then we got a few other things that we've changed as well, or are attempting to enforce more or less. One is a 3-topic maximum. So instead of having however many things we want to talk about that we've watched and played, which, by the way, Sutro Sidetalk, we talk about everything we watch and play, select news, which I'll get into in a second. But it's going to be 3 topics maximum, and it'll be like 1 to 3. So you can have one topic. If it's really big, it'll cover the whole episode. 2 topics, same thing. 3 will be as much as we do. And then however long the episode is after that is, if it's like an hour, then we stop there. Otherwise, we're going to try to keep it to a 1.5 hour maximum, just because I don't want it to be too long for the viewers, the listeners, and it's just better for everyone all around. So what we're going to try to do now is, let's say if we do have a 3-topic thing, and we're now an hour and 15 minutes in after the second topic, and we're like, oh my God, well, we have one more topic. I don't think it'll be 15 minutes. I think it's going to be over like 10 minutes, because sometimes our outro takes a couple minutes as well. Then we're just going to end it there, and we'll just carry over that third thing for the next episode or something, just to be more enforcive on it. And we'll see how it goes. Today, we're actually going to do 3 topics. They are going to be Chainsaw Man, season 1, the movie Troll on Netflix, and the anime Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, season 1 as well. And I'm curious what that smile is for.
I want to make a joke about that witch came from the moon from Destiny.
I'm like, does he know the meme that came out of the season finale? And I'm like, I don't know if he knows the meme.
I think I do know. I might know what you're talking about, because like for like a day, my Twitter was all just like, oh my God, this one scene.
Yeah, well, and yeah, when we get to it, we'll get to it. Otherwise, so for news from now on, guys, we've been covering a lot less news. The news itself will probably not really have sections for it anymore. Like instead now it's just gonna, if you look at the time code, it'll say intro, 1 to 3 topics that we played or watched, outro. The news will from now on be in the intro, just so it's shorter and we're not really as into it. The only time I think it'll be really big is if it's some massive showcase, like it's E3 week or something. that'll be maybe the episode. It'll be one of those rare news episodes. Otherwise, yeah, we'll probably be refining other news stuff later on in the future. Like if there's another fucking Netflix geeked week or something, I think we'll try to make it even shorter than we did before for those kinds of topics and stuff, just because there's so many damn showcases at this point.
Yeah, I love that Netflix is like, you think we have enough content for one show? We can fill a whole week, and then they really can't.
And then you're just hitting your head against the wall, like, I watched this whole
Yeah.
thing and I hate you for it. And then they're like, you can't use your password outside of your house.
Man, it's like
Yeah,
kind of funny watching that debacle because it's like it'll
it
never
comes in.
work.
It comes in March, so we'll see how that
Are
goes.
they really still going forward with that?
I
Man.
I don't know. I'm like behind on reading. I'm like at least on my bookmark news. I just got to February because there was like 2 months where I just fell behind. But I've been like catching it. Like yesterday, I was at a buddy's house and I was just like information, information, information. I'm bookmark. Oh, excellent! I got through January. Fantastic.
Yeah, I love like people just kept going like, oh, the young teens off of college are gonna finally learn what a torrent is.
Classic. You just have to throw some VPNs there so you can do it through the school email or school Wi-Fi in case it doesn't work. But all right, yeah. So
that onion router.
that is kind of what's going on with the future of the show, what's going on now, what we're changing. Otherwise, yeah, we've been gone for 3 weeks, so what's been happening? It's a mix of news and kind of what's been happening with us as well. So the first thing I just want to say really fast, because I talked about it before, I watched the entirety of Community. They're filming the movie in June. They're going to start filming in June. I just want to say that
It's
really
so
fast.
funny because that was like a running joke in that show as 6 seasons in a movie.
Yeah, so we're finally going to get the closure we wanted. And then all that's left after that, I think, will be Glow, if that ever happens. But that's another story entirely. Then
that made me instantly sad.
yeah, Super Bowl happened. We got trailers. It was cool. The Flash actually looked really interesting. I was like, oh shit, this is better than I thought it would be.
I feel like I would have been way more hyped if we didn't already immediately know that like Michael Keaton was coming back as Batman. Because if I had like not known that and seen that, I would have been like, oh my
It would have blown
God.
minds. Yeah, I mean, you get 2 Batman in it. You got Zod. You got Supergirl. You got 2 Flashes. You've got
the Supergirl thing is what's really interesting to me.
Yeah, so it'll be a movie. We'll see what happens. Because the whole thing, the biggest thing is this is what transitions the DCEU to James Gunn's DCU. So be prepared for that. I also like that little commercial with Donald Faison and Zach Braff with John Travolta. And then also the fucking game itself just I was like, I don't know who to root for. And then I was like, oh, this is actually a really good game. I don't want either of these teams to win, but it's actually pretty good. So I was like entertained at the end of the day because I'm a Niners fan. So I was still just like, fuck. And then Nintendo Direct, we had a bunch of news come out of that. The only thing I want to mention is Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games are finally coming to the Switch, which is the whole, I've been complaining about this for a very long time. This is the whole point of why I bought a Switch is you should have all the portable and console retro games on there to utilize because it's supposed to be a hybrid portable home device, and it's finally doing it. So I'm like, oh cool, all right, we got everything up to I guess what would next be GameCube and DS if they ever do that. But honestly, at this point, I'm pretty satisfied with what there is. So no complaints.
I love that they started off the Game Boy with like, I mean, Metroid 2 is cool that it's there, but of course they had to have Tetris.
Yeah.
Which is like perfect.
Anything else for like one notable thing for you?
We got like another trailer for Zelda, but like we already know that's coming. I mentioned in our like 2022 review that it's like already my most anticipated game for next year. So I didn't really need to see more of Zelda. It just already looks good. But I was not expecting them to like announce that. What?
Oh, the price hike or something else?
Oh, it's a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, if there was
we're doing nothing different, pay us $10 more.
Well, here's the thing though. Okay. The reason why I am going to be a sucker and just give them the extra $10 to play
everyone's going to do it. It's not going to, like I've said it many times, you could throw Nintendo or Zelda or whatever on a trash can and people will buy it and say it's the greatest thing in the world. Like it's not going to make a difference.
I guess, but I guess for me, it's just that, like Breath of the Wild was already such an amazing game and there was so much value in it. I have to I guess update, I re-looked at the time that I spent on my Switch on Zelda, and it wasn't 200 hours, it was 140, but that's still like a
Oh
shit ton of time on a
no.
Zelda game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got so much like value and just like enjoyed the first game so much that it's absolutely worth like $100, let alone 70. So
Okay.
I'm fine with it being like 70 instead of 60 this time. And that's even just if it's as good as the last one. But if they improve it in any way, which we'll see, I don't know how they could, but I'm sure they got some ideas. Uh, but yeah, so I'm excited for that, even though it's like $70 instead of 60. But I was really excited that like they announced Metroid Prime Remastered.
Oh yeah,
They're
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're not doing they I was hoping for years that they would just like re-release the Metroid Prime trilogy on Switch and just like call it a day because good enough as long as I can play them. But they just and it's weird that they called it Metroid Prime Remaster because it feels like a full-on remake because it's not just like porting the straight GameCube game to or the Wii game to the Switch that and now I can just run it like a higher resolution or frame rate or whatever. They straight up remade like all the assets in this game. Like it looks like a modern game. And it's funny because like the GameCube game 20 years ago already looked so good that I was actually having some trouble being like, is this better looking than the GameCube game? And then of course you go to YouTube and there's like no
Oh,
shortage
side
of
by side, yeah.
comparisons. And I'm just like, holy shit, they actually did do like a lot of work on this. So I am super hopeful and excited that maybe they might remaster all three of the games just like this. So not only would they do so I guess I'm
I mean,
just
it's free.
happy.
It's not free money, but it's like they're gonna
No,
definitely more than it's gonna be a profit. Needless to
I'm
say.
happy that they're not doing just the bare minimum and just being like, here you go, Prime trilogy until Prime 4 comes out, maybe eventually. But they're just like, no, we're gonna take even more time with it and remake each individual game and make them look freaking amazing for today. And so like Metroid Prime was already one of my favorite games of all time, but with like updated graphics, updated controls, it's amazing. Like I am so excited that they actually did it, and it was a shadow dropped that day. They were just like,
Yeah.
"Hey, check this out. You want to play it? Here you go." And I was just
It's like
like,
first you had Microsoft with Hi-Fi Rush, and now with the Metroid Prime Remastered.
"Yeah, dude." So I'm super hopeful that they do that for the rest of the trilogy leading up to Metroid Prime 4 eventually. Even maybe if they even do it for the DS game and they just like make that actually control better. But yeah, so that was cool.
Okay, nice. And then I was gone for nearly a week. I was gone for 6 days in LA for the Demon Slayer World Tour LA premiere, where MA, for those that know Demon Slayer, she is the artist that she sings the intro and outro to the Entertainment District arc. And we got to see her live along with the voice actors for Tanjiro, both English and Japanese
That's
voice
cool.
actors on the same stage together, plus like one of the producers. It was really fun, and she was outstanding. She did such a good job. That was the main reason why we went and checked this out. It was me and Andreas. If you guys saw, he was on our Demon Slayer episode before, as well as like Destiny and I believe Boba Fett and stuff like that. But it was it was really fun. We had a great time, and now I have to wait 2 months for the second episode of the Swordsmith Village arc because I saw it
Oh,
and
you
I'm
actually
like,
got to see the first episode? I forgot that that was
yeah,
part
it's
of the
like a one
deal.
hour. It's like a 1 hour special that's like
Oh,
actually like 45-50 minutes. But yeah, it was
I'm
like
super jealous now.
it, it'll be in theaters. That's the thing. In like uh in March, early March, it's going to be in theaters. I'll probably actually go and see it again because it was like partially blocked. Like it was in a
Mm,
Orpheum theater, so it's like the little side opera balcony things. One of them was blocking the corner of the screen. I was like,
damn, that
fuck, because I
sucks.
was at the side. So I definitely will go see that again in theaters. So you and I will go and check that out, maybe in Dolby Atmos or something if it's there. If it's in Atmos, we should
Sounds
go see it
good.
in Atmos for sure.
Yeah, because I still haven't seen anything in Atmos.
Yeah. So God, I can't believe you
I don't
haven't.
know if I want to spend that money on Ant-Man if it is
Oh
a
yeah,
thing, because I'm not hearing good things about
are we
Ant-Man.
supposed to see that? I'm at that point where I'm like, do we have to watch Marvel movies anymore? I don't. Do we have to like see it in the theater at this
I still
point?
want to see Ant-Man, but I'm
I
less excited
do.
now that I've heard some things.
I don't even care about what I've heard. I'm just so like I said, I'm just marveled out at this
Yo, you
point.
seen MODOK? He looks fucking
Oh,
weird.
Modoc is great. That's why I want to go see the movies Modoc. I saw that and I was laughing. I was
He
like,
looks
there
like a
you go.
giant baby.
He just looks like anyway.
Why is he
Yeah, so
smiling?
the trip was cool, had a great time. And then came back and there was a PlayStation Direct or State of Play, sorry. And they talked, I guess the only really thing we saw another Lightfall trailer, which this is coming out like the day before
The
Lightfall
Traveler
drops.
does a thing.
Holy shit, the Traveler, you could do anything? You could do something? Holy
Yeah, I
shit.
love someone on Twitter posted like it could have done that the whole time.
Yeah, really. So there we got that. We got Street Fighter 6 stuff, which I will say I might actually buy it when it comes out. I'm kind of tempted
I'm kind of
after playing.
interested. I got super burned by Street Fighter 5, so I'll wait for reviews, but I've been hearing good things so far.
I think after enjoying like Mortal Kombat and Injustice, I'm kind of tempted to jump into. I'm not like gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm into all these fighting games. I'm just like, I think this is the only other thing I'll probably take in is probably Street Fighter, just because it's popularity and
Yeah.
everyone always loves taking it to parties and stuff. At least when I was in college, so I totally get it.
Street Fighter is probably one of the easiest fighters to pick up.
Yeah,
There's a lot of depth to it, but like it's one of the easiest ones just like do, I
yeah.
guess.
The characters look really cool, so I'm tempted to just jump in and see how it goes, and probably just do the story first and see where it goes from there. Because I know a bunch of friends are getting it, so I'm like, oh, I could just play with them and stuff and see what goes on with it and everything else. And then last little thing we'll talk about before we get to the features is Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. We got to see some
Ugh.
gameplay. It looks very whatever. And there's a season pass and it's a service game. And you could kind of feel that Rocksteady didn't maybe they didn't have a full say. Like this is probably Warner Brothers going like, all right, guys, you gotta like look what everyone else is doing. You gotta do it. Look at the Avengers game or something. I don't know what the fuck
Yeah,
happened.
it's so weird that they're like, hey, let's make an Avengers game, but with less characters.
And it's this there's two things. One, it's like, oh, this is the Arkhamverse. There's so many,
That's the
Justice League
weirdest part
characters you
about
can
this.
there's all these Justice League characters you can choose from. Who do you want to do? Let's do the Suicide Squad. Okay. What else? Yeah, we're gonna make it a service game, and the single player you have to still have online functionality. Well, this all sounds pretty awful, but okay, sure. And I get like, okay, this is probably coming out. This really was being made like releasing around the time that David Ayer's Suicide Squad came out, and like we've had the Suicide Squad, we've had multiple Suicide Squad animated films as well. So I do get it, like the hints to this since like Arkham Origins and everything else. But yeah, I didn't think it would kind of go in this direction. Uh,
Yeah, I
and you
think
can kind of tell
they,
this does do it because like you could get that Will Smith Deadshot feel a little bit too
which is weird because we already saw Deadshot in
in the
on the
Arkhamverse
Arkhamverse,
anime,
and he's not
and he's
that
white.
guy.
And I'm not gonna lie too. When he took off his mask, I looked at him and I'm like, why does he look familiar but not Deadshot familiar? And I'm like, oh shit, he looks like Bronze Tiger, and I'm like, that's what he reminds me of.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah, Bronze Tiger is another DC
Huh.
villain hero, depending on what's going on.
It's
Uh,
also kind of funny to me that the last time we saw Batman in the Arkhamverse, he was like dead. It's like I guess he was fine eventually.
I mean, if the secret ending shows he's alive and he's just like,
They,
Wayne
well,
is dead. I'm just now a monster thing.
yeah, they were really a little bit ambiguous about it, but yeah, I don't know. They did hint that he's like not really dead.
Yeah, after skipping Gotham Knights, I'm just like, we'll see what happens with this. I'm not inclined to
They
pre-order
totally lost me
whatsoever.
with the gameplay of this trailer when they were just like, yeah, just shoot all the purple glowing bits. It
Yeah.
literally made me think of what was that game on Xbox 360 back in the day? Lost Planet, where it's just like
Okay.
just shoot the glowing orange bits. Like, okay, I guess this game is from like a decade ago.
Yeah. So
More?
I'm like I said, I'm not pre-ordering it. I'm just gonna see
Yeah.
what happens, I guess. And At least there's the Monolith Wonder Woman game.
Dude, that's the other thing that like someone else posted to Twitter, because one of the things that shows up in this trailer, that's one of the few things that I actually liked for the Suicide Squad thing, was when Wonder Woman shows up and stops Flash and like wraps him up in the lasso of truth, and she's just like pleading with him, like, tell me how to help you, and like tell me how to break Brainiac's, like, hold on everyone. And he's just like, you have to kill us, Diana. And someone pointed out that like, yo, what if this game had just been focusing on Diana having to hunt down and kill her friends to save the world? And it was just like, oh my fucking god, that would have been such a much better game.
That
It's
would have
just a
been more
Wonder
interesting.
Woman.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, that's that. Otherwise, yeah, that's just our little intro. And sorry if it's
Yeah.
long. It won't be
20
long
minutes
for the
ain't
next.
bad.
Yeah, it's not honestly like when you really combine how our news used to be, this isn't bad at all. But
Yeah.
also, this is 3 weeks worth of stuff. I don't think the other ones will be as long unless it's a news heavy week. Otherwise, yeah. Now to talk about Chainsaw Man, which I guess ended a bit ago in
The
terms of
show's so
first season.
weird but awesome.
Very, very interesting show to say the least. It was 12 episodes, and many people, they've read the manga, and it's funny always seeing people post like, "Oh, you're about to get this character," and you're like, "Okay, I guess we'll see what happens with that." And it's like, "Oh, who's she? Oh, that's a boy angel. What?" It just- yeah, the angel
They're
at the end.
male.
Yeah, that's a
Weird.
boy.
Okay.
Yeah, because everyone could in the very beginning, like I'm not trying to be offensive or anything, but it's just at the very beginning you look and you're just like, oh, it's who's the girl, the angel girl, and it's like, no, it's a boy, and everyone's like, whoa, and then like Twitter blows up and
They even
they're
have like a really high pitched voice and everything.
dude, it was so funny when you look at the Twitter unloading off of it. It was hilarious, but the show itself, I thought, you know, we neither of us have read the manga. Uh, the show is really fun. It was really great. This is Mappa doing it, so these are the guys doing Attack on Titan, and I think they're also doing Jujutsu Kaisen, if I'm correct. I'm
I don't
pretty
know. I'd
sure.
have to look into that.
They are pretty much like going through all this different stuff, and I think that's you're wondering like, man, Attack on Titan sure is taking forever. I wonder what's keeping them. And it's like, oh, they're not
Yeah,
working
because they
on
have like a
Attack
bunch
on.
of products
Yeah, they're
or
like, we're not just
projects.
working on Attack on Titan. There's multiple things
Oh,
going
yeah,
on
you're right.
here.
Mappa is doing Jujutsu Kaisen as well.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure like we just got Chainsaw Man. We're getting finally Attack on Titan final season, part 3, part
Oh my
1.
god. Oh my god.
And then we're getting after that, I think maybe Jujutsu Kaisen season 2. I think that's supposed to come this year. And then you get Attack on Titan final season part 3, part 2. And then you'll get like Chainsaw Man season 2. I think that's how that works. I don't really know. It's horrifying.
Damn, because I really want to see more Chains. I'm honestly most interested in seeing more Chainsaw Man because
I
it's a
I
really
I'm
interesting
like okay
concept.
for now. Yeah, I'm really excited for more, but I think I'm also like now that I've watched Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm like, oh, I really want to see what happens with that
I'm just
now.
like I'm so interested in like what the hell even is Makima or whatever, in like,
Oh yeah, they're
because she's
different.
obviously some sort of devil, but like like,
Well, what devil did she make a pact with? Yeah,
well, that, and like, yeah, like what the hell is with it, like, because how did she even survive, like, because she was definitely dead.
yeah. No, it's all the different devils will be interesting. To find the reveals for like her and also Kubani. Will also be or Kubeni. Will be
Dude,
interesting to
like,
see what hers is because it's still a
she
secret.
it's so, yeah, it's like weird that like she's not supposed to tell anyone, and also she like seems like the most like timid character. Like, dude, it was so fucking funny when they were doing the fighting the eternity demon or whatever, or
Oh, in
devil,
the hotel.
and just like the scene where she's like, hey, you stay here, I'm gonna go up one floor, and she just like comes back down the same way, and she just freaks the fuck out. It's so funny.
So good. You
And
don't
then,
expect her to
and
be just so
yeah, and
fun.
then later on when like basically everyone gets murdered, she's just like snaps and is like an unbelievable killing machine, and it's just like,
Yes.
how are you doing this shit? You're not, it doesn't even look like you're using any devil powers, you're
And then
just
she's using
doing it.
Denji as a shield. It's so
Yeah.
good. Just the way they pull that off. And I guess to really go through it all, you have just Denji for the most part. It starts off, you have Denji, and then over time you're getting all these other characters. Kind of first like the more
Dude, I love how
intimate squad of
simple.
people.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
For Denji, I love how simple his desires are because his
Oh
life has
yeah,
been so shit for so long that it's just as soon as people are treating him nicely, he's just like, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. You're giving me like an apartment and food, like, and maybe boobs. I don't know.
I
Like,
don't have
cool.
to eat a cigarette for $1. This is fantastic. Like, great. I don't owe the mob money
Uh,
anymore that I should
dude, that
not
was
have
so
had to owe
funny.
in the begin, like in the first place.
That was so funny. Yeah, dude, that was so shit.
I
But
know.
like, that was so funny in the first episode when he like first turns into Chainsaw Man, or maybe that was the second episode because I can't remember if the first episode ends with him dying. But yeah, like when
I
he's
think
just
it
like,
happens at the end of the episode. He turns,
right,
and then the second episode is where like Makima comes in and is like,
yeah,
"Hey, what's going on? I'm
and
gonna
he's just
kill
like
you."
he's like slaughtering the entire Yakuza, or at least everyone in that room, and he's just like laughing maniacally like an insane person. He's just like, once I kill all of you, I won't owe anyone anything.
I mean, that's gotta be one of the greatest feelings in the world,
Oh, absolutely.
especially in a capitalist
Well,
like
because like they
current day
literally
where
were
you're just
making
like,
him.
yeah, I you just went from dead to, oh my god, I have all this power and I'm literally killing off my debt as I speak. Like
Yeah,
that's gotta be the best
well,
feeling in
especially
the
because
world.
he spent his like short life basically selling off like organs to like pay off parts of his debt in like, yeah, and even that, like after being completely loyal to them his entire life and doing everything they said, they still killed him.
Yeah.
And so yeah, of course he's gonna just be like, okay, fuck all of you. I'm a
It
chainsaw man now.
it's very yeah, it's you definitely feel satisfied from watching what goes on
Yeah.
in it. And it's Mappa does a lot of bloody stuff. Like you've seen it in all their shows. It's usually very mature in terms of just blood and gore for the most part. Every now and again, yeah, you're not going to see anything inappropriate in terms of sexual activity, but you'll get like hints and a little bit of stuff here and there, but nothing too crazy. Uh, the characters that you over time get introduced to, like I said, you're starting off with just Denji, and then you're getting the intimate, like the squad, and then you're seeing the extended like chapter of everything, and then everyone gets fucked up, and then you're like, well, who's left? And now you're getting meeting other people that are being introduced into it too, that are other like devils and fiends that have been actually there.
Dude, the
Like
shark dude looks so fucking weird.
you have the shark dude, you have like the violence guy who's got like the plague doctor mask.
Yeah, like he's super interesting to me because they're like, he has to keep that mask on all the time for some reason. And yeah, he's just somehow incredibly dangerous. But
You
we
have
haven't seen
Angel
why.
Boy, and then is it Spider?
Yeah.
You have the Spider Girl, right?
Oh yeah. I forgot about her.
Because it's pretty much four of them
Yeah.
altogether. Yeah,
The angel one's weird because it's like, it's interesting that if everything that has a name has a devil associated to it, so there would obviously be an angel devil, but it's just interesting that it's like, so it's like it looks good, they are nice, but they are a devil, and their ability is just if they touch you they drain your life force away, or they make you age. It's very interesting and weird.
yeah. And these, I believe they're all fiends pretty much. Like the only one that's a devil that's like human is Denji. Like
Yeah,
he's an oddity
and I guess
among
Katana
even
Man.
fiends. Oh, Katana Man would be the other one. Yeah,
Yeah,
actually.
which is interesting because like they make it clear that like Denji, like he is not a fiend, which a
Yeah.
fiend is when a devil possesses a dead human. And it's weird because Denji did die,
Yeah.
and Pochita basically is now his heart. So it's weird because like Denji is now basically like a human devil hybrid.
Hmm.
He's like neither, basically, and both, but like a fiend is not that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
So
there's also other devil hunters that just like have pacts with devils to give
yeah,
them abilities.
it's just like a partnership without actually
Yeah.
potentially really altering them too much.
Dude, that shit,
Uh,
like the snake girl, like it was so weird to me that every time she summons the snake, she just like loses a fingernail, and it's just like, ugh, that's fucking gross.
yeah, I mean, it's also yeah, it's horrifying just knowing like how much you have to sacrifice for this kind of thing. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I want to work for the city, and it's like I don't think I want to work for the city if it means like, it's like, oh, you're risking your life and getting paid a little bit, but it's also like, oh, besides just risking your life, you're gonna potentially just like sacrifice parts of yourself. And I'm like, all right,
Literally.
I can understand that you're potentially gonna die doing this, but I hate the fact I don't like specifically the fact that you have to give away parts of yourself along the way,
Dude,
kind of guaranteeing like no long lifespan.
one of the most disturbing parts of the entire season for me was when the girl with the pact with the ghost devil was like, basically when they got attacked and it looked like everything was lost, she basically was like, okay, ghost devil, like I gave you my eye so that you could give me like one of your hands, like way back or when we started this pact. Save, oh, I forget the other guy's name. Save my friend and
Also, I
I'll
think it
give
was
you.
Himeno. Himeno was the
Yeah,
with the eye patch, the woman.
yeah, and she was basically just like, I'll give you everything if you give me everything. And so she's just like slowly disappearing, like part by part, and the while the ghost devil is like fighting the snake devil, and it still loses, and she's
Yeah,
just gone.
that sucked.
Yeah,
Uh, I think because okay, so you get all that sacrifice because it's funny they do that whole dinner where it's like, hey, here, check out, meet everyone here that's part of the team, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Are we gonna see more of them later? And it's like the episode after, I think, is just when everything goes down, and it's like, no, you're not. They're all pretty much dead. Even what's his face? That was Kobeni's partner.
yeah, the dude who's gonna retire, he gets like shot in the back of the head.
Yeah, like they all just got more or less, except for really just uh Denji, Power, uh Aki, and Kobeni. Like
It's
that's
interesting
it.
because like Denji and Power seem to be basically immortal.
To an extent. It's like,
Well,
you know, they could,
Denji more than Power somehow.
yeah, but it's still, they're just kind of not lucking through it, but just the willpower well, Denji's
Well, no,
willpower,
I was just like,
and then
I'm
Power just
referring
like
to,
escaping shit all the time.
well, like when the dude with the scars on his face that was training Power and Denji later, who is basically just
Kashibi,
like,
right? I think his name is Kashibi. I'm
dude,
looking at a list of the characters too, just to make
that
sure.
guy is like so funny to me because he's just like so apathetic and he's just like, I don't care about anything. I've seen so much shit that like nothing matters to me anymore. And he's just like an unbelievable fighter, and he's just like basically killing Denji and Power over and over again and just like giving them blood to heal them to like train them. I love he like leave after the first session, he leaves Denji basically like brain damaged. And
Oh
the
yeah,
Power's
no,
just like smacking him on the head. He's like, fix your brain.
it's so good.
uh,
It's very entertaining. It's very entertaining. It's very funny. And you're just enjoying, I guess, just the action in it, along with the characters are just charming,
oh
really.
yeah.
Because Denji is, yeah, we already talked about Denji, but yeah, he goes through all this crap and he finally is getting things his way. I mean, things get harder, but with it come better awards that he's never ever had in his entire life. So
Yeah.
he's actually through all this pain and like physical pain and suffering, he is living the dream he's always wanted simultaneously. Whereas like you have Aki who just lost his partner and is going through a lot of shit. And he, you know, you see his past of like his family was killed by the gun devil with that crazy, just the bullet
Yeah, that
went
was
through, and
insane.
it was, you're just like, okay, so this guy's really, really strong. Currently, Denji cannot defeat him, but the gun devil has a very specific interest in him that we don't know what that is yet, telling us that most likely Denji is a threat to him. And, you know, over the span of this series, we'll find out what that is and watch him grow to potentially rival the Gun Devil and ultimately, I'm assuming, defeat him by the end of the show.
Yeah.
Uh, and then Kobeni, yeah, just funny being this awkward girl who's horrified at everything, but then is able to still like pull shit off when the shit hits the fan, quite literally. Like when things go down, she is a survivor and a fighter, and you don't expect it, but then when it occurs, you're just like, okay, she
Dude,
does
even like
well.
the first episode that she was really in with the Eternity Devil, and it's just like kill Denji for me and I'll let you leave. And she's just like, I have to kill you. She comes out with a knife.
And they just knock her out. It's
Yeah.
great. And then later on, like during the final when they assault the building, she helps capture the girl who has the former devil hunter that has all those packs with like the snake and at a certain point the ghost.
Yeah.
She helps apprehend her until that girl just gets got immediately. And you're like, oh, I guess she wasn't that important after all. Okay. But and then Makima, you see Makima and well, something ain't right with Makima. I don't
Yeah. She's
trust her
definitely got
for
like plans.
yes, you could I think it's easy to say that she is using Denji to the fullest extent. And I think he kind of half knows that, but also still is like falling in love with her because she is
Yeah.
like the first person to treat him nice. And he's like, I want something to be my first whatever to be special each time. And with power, copping a feel on her breast, she was
That
just
was so
like,
funny. Like the episode
oh,
after that, where he's just like all depressed and power, and Makima is like, "What's wrong?" It's like, I got to feel some boobs, and it was just kind of okay. Now I'm wondering if literally nothing in life matters.
and then she's like, it just has to be with someone special. And he's like,
Yeah.
life restored.
Yeah, she teases him for like 10 seconds or whatever, and he's just like, "Oh, I want to do stuff with Makima now."
I need life. And then,
Uh,
he gets like freaking Himeno tries to seduce him, and then does the full like let's make out, proceeds to
oh
vomit
god,
in
she
his
barfs
mouth.
like in his mouth. Oh my god, that was so fucking gross.
You're like, damn, she's a keeper, man.
Uh,
But still, dude, her death was the saddest in the
oh
show,
yeah.
easily. Like that was sad. And you really felt that, especially when you get all the backstories. How'd you feel about the pacing? Because considering like we're going through things and there's repeated flashbacks. I'm not saying they redo the
Um,
flashbacks, but like it's throughout where you're getting
I don't
flashbacks on
like
top of whatever's going on.
I don't want to say that it felt slow paced
Mhm.
because like it did feel like it took a little bit of time to get to like the real meat of the season where like here's all the characters in the special division and what they all do and why they're all here and stuff like that and some of what their abilities are and stuff like that. But there was still shit happening in like the previous episodes before that. Like you mentioned, like we started with Denji and we got his backstory and how he became Chainsaw Man. Then we get Aki and Power is like freaking amazing from the moment she shows up. Where she just like busts through the door of the room. She's like bow to me, humans. I am Power. It's great.
Yeah.
But so there I don't know, it was just like every episode was entertaining and it's one of the few shows recently that I actually was like actually excited every week to be like, oh okay, when's the next episode like dropping because I gotta watch it like basically immediately like it so
Chainsaw Tuesdays.
yeah, so like it did feel like it took maybe half the season to get to like the real like meat of it, but there was still at least like cool shit happening along the way.
Yeah, very much so. I think I like the fact that you're slowly getting a growth of the world, like it's building its world. It's showing you the surroundings of kind of, oh, what's life like here? You're not supposed to damage this world. Everyone knows devils exist. It's not like a hidden thing where, you're watching Demon Slayer and it's like, humans shouldn't have to know that demons exist, but demons exist and all this stuff, but we're still trying to keep it under wraps more or less. This one is just they just live with it. They're like, well, I hope
Yeah.
nothing happens and we pay taxes. So hopefully, if something appears, it can be stopped at any point when it does
Yeah. It's
occur.
like literally the first devil that Power kills in this show is like some dude's just in a phone booth calling like 911 or whatever their equivalent is, and he's just like, yeah, there's a devil here. It's not very strong. I think it looks like the sea cucumber devil or something. So it's just send someone to take it out, and then Power just like smashes it with a mallet like immediately.
Yeah, I love that she has a mallet. It was like, oh, you get you get some Harley Quinn vibes for sure,
Yeah.
considering that's like the only other character that uses a mallet, and she's also blonde. So it's pretty good that they just like Yeah, I could see some influence with what you're trying to do here, especially
Yeah.
considering they're both crazy as well.
I also love that, like, for a fiend, like, her, like, physical feature that shows that she's a fiend is, like,
The
the
little
smallest thing. It's
little
just, like, little
ears
tiny, like
or
it's like tiny
horns.
red horns,
Yeah,
whereas, like, Shark Dude is, like, half his head is a shark.
a little bit more noticeable for sure.
Yeah.
Like she of all the fiends, yeah, she is the most subtle besides like Angel Boy.
Yeah, I guess the angel one is, like, they have, like, wings, but yeah.
Yeah. And then I will say, okay, so for me, like, I don't know who your preferred characters are. Power is probably my favorite, surely for the fact that she's just so
Yeah,
what would
she's
be
probably
the
my favorite just because she's so
she's
funny.
she's the craziest in terms of just like the way she talks is always just like, I'm so powerful, like I'm power, blah blah blah. And then anytime if there's something she sees that's like above her weight class, she's like tactical retreat, and she's
Yeah.
just gone, and you're like, where did power go? And she's like, I couldn't help out here, sorry, something came up or whatever. Like you could tell she's making excuses because she wants to act like an alpha predator, but also is like, I'm not gonna die for this, I'm gonna run for my life if I need to and just disappear. And then the sheer fact that also her friend is a cat, like her
Yeah,
friends
she
are
named it
cats.
Meowie.
Meowie, yeah, which is a
Yeah.
fantastic name for a cat. But she's just drawn to cats in general. Like you kind of see like on the rooftops or just anywhere, she's just like finding a cat, and she's like, "Ooh." I think the first instance you see her interact with a cat, which was right before she kills the sea cucumber devil, is like you see the cat, and you're just like, first thought, ah, crap,
Oh,
she's
she's gonna
gonna
eat it.
eat the cat or murder the cat, and then she's just like, I like cats more than humans, and you're like, I did not see that coming, and it's actually very sweet the way that whole thing works
Yeah.
out. And then the bat's a piece of shit and everything else, and you get that whole thing. But yeah, I think she's for sure my favorite. Then yeah, Denji, and then Kobeni for sure. Aki, I like Aki, but he's very mellow, very just like
Yeah.
monotone for the most
Like,
part.
his character is very much like the serious one
Yeah,
because his whole thing is just like, I am looking for the gun devil. The reason why I am killing my way through these smaller devils is because I'm looking for pieces of the gun devil to make a chunk large enough to find the real gun devil. Because basically, like, his whole life is dedicated around his revenge against the gun devil for murdering his family, and
yeah,
that's it.
and he's prepared to die for it too.
Oh yeah.
Which I think, I guess I'm saying is, I think it's like more like Aki. It's like Akima is like his full name, but Aki,
Maybe.
I think. So I don't know if
But
I'm
like,
butchering it or not.
even the scene where he kind of like loses his contract with the Fox Devil because like shit went wrong and the Fox Devil is just like, I don't want to work with you anymore.
You're bad business.
Yeah. So he makes a pact with the Future Devil. And the Future Devil for like I love that they explain that like the only two other people within the public defense or whatever the public service like sector like that have been able to make a deal with the Future Devil had to give away like a bunch of their body basically just for like a small part of its power. And it's also weird that it's like constantly dancing and shit.
Yeah, I
And
think that was very, yeah, yeah.
like it basically has Aki show it his future by putting his head inside its like abdomen. And it literally was just like, whoa, your future. Like, I'm gonna just give you a deal right now and give you some of my power for nothing because your death in the future is badass. And that's all we get to know. It's
Yeah.
just like for some reason his death is going to be insane and the future devil just wants to witness it. And that's it.
I think the other thing about this show, well, not really in the show itself, is, well, two things of the beginning and the end is its intro and outro. And
I watched it every time.
the intro is so good. The song itself is fantastic. I have to actually look up the song really fast.
Kickback.
Kickback? Okay, yeah. So that song is fantastic. It's so catchy. I think at one point we were going to a movie and I picked you up and I was just blasting it and I was like, "Yo, bro,
Yeah.
fuck you." This song's
I
great.
literally immediately got in your car. I was like, yo, I've had this stuck in my head like for the whole like week.
It's just so fun. It's very just like high pump
Dude, you sent me a
energy.
meme the other day of like Woody or Andy pulling Woody's string from Toy Story and he turns into Chainsaw Man. And immediately in my head, as soon as I saw the Chainsaw Man panel at the end, I was just like the theme song started playing in my head immediately.
Just unavoidable, yeah. And it's great. It's very catchy. Like that thing will just be in your head. It'll be stuck there. But there could be worse songs stuck in your head by far. The intro itself with the animation is really interesting because they throw in a lot of different movie references
Yeah.
throughout it. The most for me, the most standout, of course, was the Lebowski bowling. Was the main
Yeah.
one,
That and the for me it was also
like
the
Reservoir Dogs as well.
Reservoir Dogs, but also uh Pulp Fiction with the
Mm,
like the holding the gun
yes,
thing.
yeah. It was very there were some other ones. There were some, like, where, they're on the table, and I forget what movie that I don't even know if I've seen the movie where that's from, but, like, there's a lot of different references.
Yeah,
There's
like I
definitely
looked up
videos
a
you can see on
video,
YouTube too, yeah, that'll
yeah,
tell you
to
all of
show
them.
all the references, and I wasn't familiar with like all of them.
But, yeah, it was, like the Tarantino ones for sure stood out
Yeah.
because you definitely that was probably the biggest influence I'd say you definitely get from it, and there's so much happening there because you see this intro and some of the stuff, like the whole thing is at one point you see the future devil dancing in it, and you're just like, what was that? And you don't you finally see him in like one episode for like 2 minutes, really, and then that's it. And you're like, he was in the intro? Oh, okay. But
Yeah, there's like
otherwise,
actually like legit spoilers in the intro, but like they're
yeah.
out of context, so you're just like, I don't know.
The different fiends that you don't see until the very end are
Yeah, like
just there.
the scene where in the intro where like everyone's in the movie theater, they just like, yeah, the angel devil is just like there and
Yeah,
stuff like
or
that. And the
he's like
shark dude.
he's sitting on the stairs and stuff, and you're just kind of like who are these guys? And you don't get them until the very last episode of the season. And it's so weird to just kind of have something like that where you normally in a lot of other shows you might get something midway through or closer to the beginning or something. But for the sheer fact that it's like a lot of these characters don't show up until the very last episode, I thought was definitely a little bit different than usual. Otherwise, everything else in it was just fun. Like you're seeing him in power be crazy. You have Katana Man, like it looked epic to say the least, like
Oh
everything
yeah.
happening in it. So it was just highly enjoyable. It's at this point now watching a lot of stuff, it's rare that I skip an intro, except unless it was One Piece, but that was only because for the sheer fact that I was like grinding through them. So it's like the
Yeah.
thing where if you watch an anime show and you're maybe watching multiple episodes, the thing I do is I'll watch the intro when I first start it up, and then I'll skip the intros and outros until the very last episode. I'll watch the outro for it. That I'm watching in that like set of time. Except for One Piece because there is no outro, so you're just kind of like, oh, okay, well,
Huh.
yeah, One Piece never had an outro ever.
Weird.
So you just kind of get the intro and that's it. But for One Piece, especially now, there's like so long of here's the recap, and then you're like, well, what if I just skip ahead of the intro and the recap? Where am I at in the episode? You're 5 minutes in. Oh my god, how much time is left? Like 15 minutes. Enjoy the episode. Oh my god, it's great. Um, but
Saves a lot of time.
the outro, plural, outros or I've never seen this in a show before where every episode had a completely different outro.
Yeah, it was super interesting.
And I watched them, I'm like, how many times did I watch them? Once, because, there's only one episode that would have it. So I do want to go back and just kind of watch them all again because each one has a different song and completely different animation. And that animation might be pertaining to that episode that just occurred. So
Yeah.
it'll have specific characters in it. It's not going to be like a normal outro where it's like, here's all the characters again that you saw in the intro and everything else. It's going to just be whoever was highlighted for that one, which I guess for the ones that were the most, I guess, for me, stuck out were like the ones with Himeno in them. Himeno. Shit. But when she died,
it's been a while, so I like don't remember what each one looked
yeah.
like.
I just remember a little bit where there were two outros that had her specifically because it's like she just died. So it was focusing on her more so than even Denji. Like you felt like she was the main character in the show when they were showing it. But I'm honestly astounded that they were able to pull that off because normally, an anime will do an intro and an outro and it'll last anywhere from 12 to maybe 26 episodes. And you're just kind of like, yep. And that's how they do it. And the amount of extra money it probably costs to do all those outros.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man in general felt like very high production value.
Yeah, very much so. Which makes sense why it would only be 12 episodes compared to
Yeah, for sure.
having 24 or
Yeah, it
something.
felt like a very short season compared to some of the other animes I've watched recently.
Honestly, recently for me, I think a lot of things were all like 12 episodes around, which made me a little sad. But yeah, it was like, oh, this is gonna be this over the span of like 3 months, which didn't even feel like 3 months. It just felt very short. But otherwise, yeah, I think I guess one last question I have for you, dude. What is in season 2? Because we haven't read the manga, so we don't know what's coming up next. Spoilers are actually easy to avoid for this from manga stuff, but what is a devil you would like to see in season 2? If you could see any devil.
I'm gonna be honest, I've seen a little bit of spoilers from YouTube, like
I can't believe it.
things, but like two of the things I'm most interested in hearing or seeing eventually are the Darkness Devil and the Death Devil. Because they're both like obscenely powerful. Because
Oh,
the
I'd
way,
assume so.
yeah, we never mentioned that like the way devils work in this show or this
Oh,
world is
right,
that
yeah.
like the more the more people fear a concept, the more powerful that devil is, which is why the gun devil is like unbelievably powerful because everyone is afraid of guns, basically. But there's also like a lot of people that are afraid of the dark. So the darkness devil is like insanely powerful. And same with the death devil is like everyone fears death, basically. So it is
I would imagine
possibly
the
the
Death
most
Devil.
powerful devil.
I would say, yeah, I was like the Gun Devil probably has nothing on the Death Devil, honestly,
Yeah.
for sure.
So and I don't know if they're going to get to those anytime soon, but like those are definitely two things that I'm very much interested in seeing more of.
Okay. I guess I'd say in terms of like what we've seen already, I'm curious to see what Kobeni and Makima's devils are.
Yeah,
But
definitely Makima. Like, what the fuck was with the whole like crushing dudes thing from remote by knowing their names? Like, that was fucking weird.
I think a devil I do want to see though, because it's me. I want to see a kaiju or monster devil because that I think would be really fun, or a
That'd be cool.
slasher devil where it's like the horror movie type devil, like that kind of thing. Those would all be pretty awesome to see.
There has to be a serial killer devil somewhere.
Yeah, or a heights devil.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, huh?
claustrophobic
Huh.
devil. Ho ho ho.
Dude, it was so funny how they beat the Eternity Devil. Was just like Denji was like, "Hey, when I push my like head chainsaw into your face, it splatters your blood into my mouth, which fuels me more. I'm a perpetual motion machine." And he just literally hurt the devil for days until eventually he was just like, "Please just kill me.
I don't
I
I
don't
don't
want
want
to
to live
hurt
anymore.
anymore."
It was straight up Denji when I'll show you eternity because I
Yeah,
could just keep going forever. That was such a good way of solving that because I was like,
yeah.
this episode's how long? But yeah, that was Chainsaw Man. I'm excited to see season 2 when it eventually comes out. I think earliest we'll get it is probably like second half of 2024, but I wouldn't hold my breath just because Jujutsu
Dang,
Kaisen
that
and Attack on
sucks.
Titan. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. Who knows?
And that's the thing. I still want to see both of those too, but I'm also like weirdly more interested in Chainsaw Man just because it's such a weird concept.
I honestly think all of that stuff will get tackled this year. So potentially we could get like either first half or like at the earliest, but I think it'll be more safe to say second half of 2024 for Chainsaw Man.
Yeah,
But yeah, next up we have the movie Troll, which is a Norwegian kaiju film.
it really
And
did feel like a Godzilla type film for sure.
yes, it's if you guys have Netflix, go check it out. I'd highly recommend it. But it's a regular film length, like around an hour and a half or so, and it is about a troll that just gets like woken up in Norway from like mining and stuff, and goes on not a rampage, like humanity forces him into a rampage more or less. Like he's kind of like, yeah, what
I
the hell's going on?
Yeah, I did love the troll expert. His explanation is like, yeah, think about it. This thing has been asleep for like God knows how long, and he wakes up to a world where like basically everyone and everything he's ever known is gone, and the world is completely different. Yeah, it's a little bit aggravated right now.
And helicopters are flying around. It's like, what the hell?
That was so fucking stupid that they were like flying those bells like within arm's reach of it.
Yeah, just a little bit farther. But
Yeah.
this movie,
That is
so
also so fucking funny that it's like it can literally smell Christian blood.
this movie is the second troll like kaiju movie we've gotten so far. The first one being Troll Hunter, which is like a mockumentary style
Yeah, that one was also
movie.
interesting. It was
Very,
just like, what if trolls were real? And just,
it's kept under
you
wraps
don't
and
see
humans.
them.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. Like I'd also highly recommend that. I think that's also on Netflix too, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm. I think
Um,
so.
but it's such a small, there's only two movies. We don't really have anything else, and this one just goes like, you know, what if the fairy tale troll was real, and all those like lessons or things about the troll that you hear in the story are also real, and it's all from like an ancient time when a bunch of trolls were just like around Norway or Scandinavia, and it was just something people would deal with or like coexist with more or less.
Yeah, it's like
And
a part of life that we've like forgotten about, basically.
yeah, it was part of the pagan culture of Norway at that point.
Yeah, and they make a point of like, the stories say that the the thing that drew or drove the trolls out of Norway was the Christianization of Norway, which is like they make a point of it in the beginning of going like, ha ha ha, that's ridiculous. And then later on when a dude's like basically dying and he's like holding a cross like and praying, and the troll's just like, I smell Christian. It doesn't really literally say that, but he's just like literally he could just like sense where that dude is.
Yeah. It that was really cool, I thought, because the whole
Yeah.
thing of like Christian blood being just a folk tale thing, and then all of a sudden it's like I could smell your
Yeah.
religion, dude, and you're just
And
like,
it's like interesting
oh
because the whole movie, they're basically trying, like the experts are trying to be like, what can we realistically say this is? Because obviously trolls aren't real. Then like the troll experts like, it's a fucking troll. Just call it a troll.
yeah.
Uh,
And with it being more modern, you know, in modern monster movies recently, like they've been doing a very good job at improving human purpose in the movie or like human
yeah.
activity. You're not like, it's no knock on Godzilla. Of course, you guys know I'm like Godzilla's number one fan practically. In the earlier films, like you don't really
I would
hear
never
too
tell by
much.
that Godzilla figure behind you
Oh, that where'd that
and
get
the
here?
poster.
Oh, what? But yeah, so uh you don't really pay attention too much to the human story in the earlier films. Like you're not really like thinking about it until like the Heisei era when it gets really fucking
It's
intense
literally just like, here's an explanation for why Godzilla's here. That's it.
and the monsters fight. And
Yeah.
as a kid you don't care, and as an adult I've grown much more attentive even to the older films. You have other ones like Gamera where it's just like, here's kids, and you're just like, I want to claw my eyes out, and until like the
Yeah.
Heisei era for that too. But you get stuff now like Shin Godzilla where it's like, oh, here's all this politics. Shin Ultraman where there's a lot more emphasis on the characters and they do seem a lot more interesting. And other American movies too are getting more interesting, more or less. I think at least the ones that have pulled off being good monster movies. But with this one, they also pulled off where you're getting a story of, here's a father and a daughter, and like the whole generic like your dad's crazy, like crazy old Maurice. It's like Beauty and the Beast kind of stuff. And he's proven right, even though everyone like dismissed him and he became like a hack to the science community and all this stuff.
Oh god, I also love that like he literally is like a crazy person when you first see him again. He's just
Pulls out a
like,
gun.
well, not only does he pull out a gun, but he's
Has no
like the
pants on.
government. He's well that, and he also has no pants on, but he's also like they're going through his like files and shit, and it looks like the Charlie from the It's Always
Yeah,
Sunny is like the
yeah.
crazy wall of like, no, you don't understand. It's all a government conspiracy. It's like, Dad, you were discredited years ago. It's like that was the government doing it, and then like later on, you find out the government literally did disgrace him because he was getting too close to the truth.
And they're just like, we just don't talk about it. Yeah.
Uh,
It it was insanely they were able to add really good, like, very limited but well-rounded comedy to it, whether it
yeah.
was with the father being loony or the, prime minister's aide that was in it as well, just kind of
Yeah,
doing his
dude, that
thing,
was
and
so funny
he
where
was
he
like a
tries
total
to
nerd.
well, and
"I
yeah, that was so
resign.
funny.
I need my card back."
Well, he didn't resign. Well, he did resign, but he like the joke was that like he fucked it up entirely because like yeah, one he for some reason he needed the key to get out of that room, so he needed to come back and pick it up. But also he's like, consider this my retirement, not. He didn't say resignation,
Oh,
and so
yeah.
like later on, he's like driving away, and he's just like, "I said retirement. What's wrong with me?"
It's so good, and the dude's like a you hear him talk about all this stuff he's into as well, and he's like, "Yeah, I have a story," and he
Yo, I
starts
love the
like
nerd girl that's just like, "Yeah, I could try to hack into this jet."
yeah, but it's so funny just being like, "Oh," he's telling, like, one person about his, like, not his fan, but his own, like, idea of, like, a cool
Yeah,
nerdish
"See, I wanna be a
story.
writer."
And later on, like, a different character is with him, and you see the conversation is still going of him talking about it. It's like, "Oh, yeah, I really like this idea," and it just, like, continues to go of just, like, small, like, snippets like that that do such a good job of, making the people come to life with personality. I
Yeah.
actually think this is probably one of the better kaiju films that really have a cast with personality as characters going around and doing their thing. Like, I actually cared about the characters. They were fun. Each one had a quirk that worked out because the film doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's still like going on a realistic tone of what the hell would you do if a troll was here, and
Yeah.
the standard ways of dealing with a threat do not work. And it's like, well, I guess we're gonna have to improvise with what would the folk tales tell us to do with bells or sunlight and things like that.
Yeah, I love that thing where it's like, yeah, the lore tells us that they hated the Christians and they hated their church bells. Let's try to bring some church bells out and see what happens, and it actually did affect them a bit. That was interesting.
Yeah. I also love like when he goes on the rampage and gets to the amusement park area and the kid's looking up at the
Yeah, and he
friendly
saves the kid
troll.
who's, like, interested in trolls, and it's like, "Oh,
I like
I
you,
guess he's
kid.
not that bad."
Well, the whole thing is the trolls coexisted with people. It wasn't until Christianity came and ruined everything. And I'm like,
Also,
oh,
yeah.
it was that I cracked up because I watched it. I'm like, hey, this happened in other places too.
Yeah.
So
Dude,
I
that kid though, like the entire time I was like, "That kid's still standing there? What the fuck is he doing?"
oh my god, dude, kids are
Uh,
kid. Like a kid's.
that's fair,
That's
yeah. Some kid
honestly a thing a kid would do. Of just be like, oh, like they're not gonna move. They don't think about that, and
yeah,
it's a
they're just
generic
like,
thing.
"I'm not in any danger."
Yeah, until the troll saves his ass, which is great. I love that it was the gingers though. It's just like, oh, I love gingers, and he saves the kid. Really, it was like the kid and his dad were both the only two gingers in the film, but it was just I thought it
Hmm.
was funny. Um,
I guess Norway kinda is a little, similar looking amongst the people.
it's all the it's Viking looking people,
Yeah.
all blonde hair and stuff, but uh I think the other thing about this movie was that they go through a whole like conspiracy of like whatever happened to the trolls, and they show like under the castle here's the graveyard because it was a massacre. They massacred all the trolls, and they explain like they go through everything. It's not just like troll broke out of the ground. They explain what happened to this troll. Oh, this is like the troll king. This is the king of the trolls, and
Yeah.
that's why he's bigger than the others.
I also love they even set up, like, a monarch type thing at the end where it's like, "You think there might be other trolls out there?" Because like, they literally had, like, specifically named ones and shit.
Yeah. And it ends with the cliffhanger of Oh yeah, there is another troll, and this one could be
Oh yeah,
like
they even
a
straight up showed that. I forgot about
yeah,
that.
it could be like a troll prince or like just a younger one altogether. They kind of it's kind of the 98 Godzilla ending where you see one of the eggs survived and
Oh
Godzilla
yeah,
hatches
huh.
and pops out.
That was, like,
They
so sad that they literally took, like, the baby troll skull just to, like, lure the king troll into, like, the trap, and just, like, the moment it got startled and dropped the skull and it just shatters into dust, and it's just like, "Ah!" 'Cause it's because he's just alone
they
and just
humanized the troll, I would say, better than they have with Kong recently.
oh, yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
last time they humanized Kong at that level was probably Peter Jackson's film.
Yeah,
I
no, it
don't
was
think
so
the like
stupid in
MonsterVerse has done as good of a job as like Troll and Peter Jackson have so far.
yeah. It was so stupid in Skull Island. No, not Skull Island. Skull Island was okay, but in Godzilla versus Kong, when they're just like, yes, this like deaf girl taught him sign language and no one noticed.
Oh yeah,
What?
I mean that was a. No, I've said it before. That was a pretty brain dead movie
Yeah.
anyway. So um, yeah, this one though, quite opposite.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
this movie was good. I actually
yeah,
liked it.
it was really good. I think really that's. I don't know if there's anything else you want. I think the only thing I'd say for it is I would definitely want to see a sequel.
Yeah, I'm actually
Um,
game to see Troll 2. Not
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 Troll
the other
2.
Troll 2.
We don't talk about that Troll 2 because that's oh my god, they're eating him, and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my god.
It's like that movie is worth a watch for other reasons.
Guys, if you haven't seen Troll 2, it's part of that trilogy of movies. You have The Room, you have Birdemic, and you have Troll 2. It's a trilogy of
It's
just
like
like
it's like so bad that it's like you have
hilarious.
to see it just to understand
You
how
have to
bad
s
it
and
is.
drinks make it better. Drinks
Oh,
do make it
yes.
more fun to watch. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
like I'm watching this and I get angry. It's just so bad, it's funny. Watch it with your friends. It's great in a group. Like, it is definitely a fantastic, "Let's all go chill on the couch, like, 6 of us are here, watch this movie, drink, and go, 'Oh my like, what the hell is going on?'" It is perfect for that kind of thing.
What's with all the popcorn?
The this movie though, it's Norwegian. It's made in Norway. It's fully Norwegian language, so you're just like reading subtitles like you would with anime.
Except for, like, the paleontologist, like, the main character, the rest of her
Oh
team
yeah,
seemed to be speaking English for some reason.
some of her team was American,
Yeah.
which was interesting. So they kind of do a more transitional language barrier there, or like they show it, and I appreciated that because you think about it and you visit another country potentially in Europe or something like that, and you do speak English and sometimes they do understand it, and they kind of showcase that in the beginning there, which I did appreciate.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm really loving right now is because when you think of monster movies, you're either thinking American style monsters or Japanese style kaiju, and that's it. And more recently we're kind of getting a little bit more in other places, like Korea gave us The Host, and now Norway is
Yeah.
actually giving us troll
Oh,
films, which
and
is
then there's, like,
fantastic.
the river, I forget what that is where that's coming from.
Are you talking about the new one?
Yeah.
The Lake. The
The
Lake
lake,
is
that's it.
Thailand. It's a Thai
Thailand.
film. They straight up said like, "Hey, Korea gave you The Host, and Japan gave us Godzilla and stuff. Well, it's Thailand's time to shine." And they said, "Here's The Lake." And I'm curious to see how it does. I really am pumped for it. I don't know how that release is gonna be, so I'm probably just gonna buy it digitally just so I can have it and watch it sooner rather than later. Because I'm really pumped for just more type of kaiju stuff. But I think this is the thing I want. Like I'm enjoying, I'll always enjoy Japanese kaiju films as they come. I'll enjoy American ones, but I am really excited to see more and more different countries have their own takes because there's so much untapped folklore
Oh, yeah,
and also
absolutely.
creativity from other nations of just like people in other countries of like their backgrounds will give them other other thoughts and ideas that people here or Japan maybe wouldn't think of. And so we're finally starting to get a little bit of that, and it's just going to be fun to see more and more what that could potentially be. And yeah,
Absolutely.
Troll is just another entry in the start of that. So here, looking forward to more. Uh,
I also just it's kinda just like Shin Godzilla, I liked the perspective of just like, yeah, what if this like completely unbelievable situation, like a troll is a real thing and exists and is alive? What if that happened now? Like, how
Yeah,
would we deal with that?
so pretty great there, and they did it well.
Yeah.
Last thing as we wrap up here, Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Uh, this is my first Gundam outside of the Universal Century universe, which is, like all the stuff that has like Amuro and Char Aznable, and I actually haven't even finished all that universe yet. I have like four things left. It's like really narrative, unicorn, no, narrative, origin, and Hathaway are like the last three things I got because I did see Kukuru's Doan's Island in theaters. But this show, it's interesting because it's a new universe. It's standalone. It's not like other ones. Like I think there's like Seed, G, Wing, Iron Blooded Orphans and stuff. This one is its own little thing. And I'm like, you know what? I'll try it out. It's a brand new world, so I'll take a look and see how it goes. And it has like a little intro, like a prologue. It's got like a episode length prologue that's about 20 minutes plus the first season is also 12 episodes like Chainsaw Man. They pretty much ran at the same time, James. So it was like, oh, okay, they kind of went hand in hand for me. This was a very fun show because it wasn't a giant war that I was used to. Instead, it's like, hey, in the prologue, stuff happens, and Gundam pilots are people that can't potentially survive that long, depending on how hard they push the Gundams they're in. It could potentially kill them, depending on like what's going on. And you even see it because the other corporations are like, "Oh man, this is dangerous. We should kill all of them because they could die in these suits. So let's kill them." The explanation is kind of weird. Like they're basically like, "Let's stop it. Let's destroy the company doing this once and for all."
Hmm.
And anyone that gets in our way, so it never happens again. So they do that, and like everyone gets massacred except for like a mother and daughter, and that daughter is like the main character for the whole show,
Is she the
and
witch from Mercury?
she is indeed, James, the
Oh,
witch from
okay.
Mercury. Because they call her a witch because she can pilot a Gundam, and they're like, "Is that a Gundam you brought with you to Gundam to basically mech school? Like it's a mech school with people from like space, people from Mars, people from Earth, just coming in, and like Earth people are looked down upon, and she's like from Mercury, so it's like complete backwater to them, where they're like, who the fuck goes to Mercury?" And it's all these, different anime tropes potentially, but it's still very like down to earth. It's not like weird, like super crazy characters that are insane. It's just like, oh, hey, this person's kind of like two-faced. You don't know what they're gonna do. All these people are really nice. This girl's just kind of extra aggressive and doesn't like people that's not from Earth and stuff like that. So you're getting all these different personalities that aren't too like some are more clashy than others, but others just mesh very well, or as a group they don't feel that different from each other until they start talking about literal little things like financial things like oh my god, we need to get parts for this, or how are we going to afford to do this kind of thing with mech parts and stuff like that. But it goes from like, hey, we're in school doing school stuff with robots to, oh, hey, we found out that this is a Gundam. You can be put in prison for this, among other things, to, oh, actually, we can do some good stuff with this. Instead, we're going to have the kids start their own little company where they could potentially actually do medical breakthroughs and some other stuff using mech parts and stuff like that. It was actually very
Interesting.
interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, like stuff that could potentially help people move their legs and stuff like that, and just like have
Oh, that makes
bipedal
sense.
walking stuff. But they
I'm honestly
really,
surprised it's never come up before.
I know, right?
Hmm.
It was pretty honestly the way they started really showing everything in the span of 12 episodes, because it was straight up like the first half of the season is, oh, it's Duel of the Day. It's like Monster of the Day for Scooby Doo, and instead it's hey, the main character is going to fight like all these different upper echelon pilot students that are like the well-known ones, and each one is from a different like famous corporate house or like family house that runs a big corporation, and it's her taking each one of them down like potentially each episode.
So it's like
Uh,
a super elite school, I guess, for
like
society.
not everyone is there to be pilots. Some people are there to be engineers, since most kids are there as like engineers or like helpers and stuff like that.
I mean,
Um,
like just like society elites, not
yes,
okay.
some are like there are society elites, and they're like the few, and then there's like kind of like their underlings, and then you have other people that are more
Mm,
like outcasts. So it's very much like a whole smorgasbord of stuff. But the people from Earth, it also seems like they had trouble just getting to the school in general. So like to
mm.
make it to the school in general still is a feat. And then you get there and then you're like, I made it to the school, like I did it. And then it's like, yeah, but also these people potentially could be 20 times better than you, even though you made it to the top 500. The other 499 could be like an arm, like basically,
Welcome to imposter syndrome.
yeah. So I'm trying to remember, like, I'm sorry with names. I've been like, I've been digesting so much anime lately that it's hard to remember all the different like names of characters for everything. But there we go. They eventually like change it to like the last few episodes turn into a full battle. Because like, oh, there's terrorists from Earth that are like being hired to help one corporation kill off another corporation's leader, so that way they can get what they want in terms of like corporate power, and everyone else is just caught up in it. So now all these people are getting killed because of this one thing. And it's interesting because like the main character is Soletta Mercury. Like that's her full name. And she's like this redheaded girl who's super, super awkward. And she's like very antisocial. She doesn't know really how to, or she's socially awkward. She doesn't really know how to deal with people too much. So she gets frightened very easily by any interaction with a person. And over time, it's like her with Miorine, who is her bride that she won in a battle. Like Miorine is like she's like this high class girl that goes to the school whose father is basically like the biggest of like the corporate elites. And her hand was like promised to like she loses a duel, and because of that she is owed a hand in marriage. I think it's either that or like her father gives her hand to another person who goes to the school, who's
Mhm.
another like son of a very big like corporate guy. And the way the duels work is they both they both like ask for a thing. It's like, oh, if I win, I want this. And then the person goes like, if I win out, I want this. So Soletta's like, I want you to leave Miriam alone, and I'll take care of her or whatever. And she wins, and she's like, all right, I'm your bride now. And she's like, wait, what? I thought I was just like helping you out from this guy. I didn't know that I'd be like promised to you. And she's like, yep, that's how that works. And they become very, very good friends throughout like the whole show. And you're kind of like, well, are they going to get into like a relationship or something? But then like other male elites get like intertwined with the main character instead, and you can kind of see like her crushing on one of them and that kind of thing. So it's like a whole different mix of characters that are going around. And at first you're just like, oh, each of these elites is kind of bad in a different way. Like one is very two-faced and sneaky, and you don't expect it because he's always smiling and nice. One is potentially like no emotion. He seems so monotone, but he's like the most brutal of them all. And then another in terms of just like base brutality, like just like, oh, you fucking suck. You're just like, oh, why are you so mean? And then the other is just like a hothead who always looks pissed off. And then it turns out he's the one getting the most character growth, becoming actually a nicer guy. And you can kind of tell like in season two, he'll be much more like potentially good and even help the main character at a certain point. And even actually, he's like, "Oh no, I've fallen for her," and you're just like, "Oh fuck!" And that's the guy that originally had like she won, uh, Marion's hand from him, and because he was like the first one she beat, and now he's like the one growing and being like, "Oh shit, like she's actually a really good person. Maybe I should like help her out if I can." By the end of it, sort of until other things end up happening. But uh, I think it's a really fun show if you're getting into Gundam and you really don't want something too warish necessarily, I guess. I don't really know how long that's gonna last because its tone tricks you because the Gundam universe I'm used to is very much it's just war. The whole thing is war.
Basically, endless tragedy.
And to switch from war to Gundam School, you're just kind of like, what the fuck? Like, it's so weird to have like Gundam High School. And then by the end of the show, like it does a full 180 turn on you and you're not expecting it. Like the tone of it is so just like, oh, it's very cute. You're getting all these different characters and they have a fight and you feel like the bond of the girl with you feel the bond of like Soletta with her Gundam is just this cool thing and it does the whole thing of like, oh no, we're gonna lose. And she's like, I believe in you, Gundam. And then they like pull off a miracle and win a fight. And it's really cool to watch it because it's like, oh, the Gundam's doing really dope Gundam stuff, and it's always fun to see Gundams do what they need to do. And once the ending comes, or like the last couple episodes, where it's like, oh, terrorist attack on the space station, and a few of your main characters are there because the Gundam's being repaired. So now they're stuck here during this terrorist attack. Uh, and everyone, all these other people are getting killed. Like they're killing like the corporate pilots and stuff and their mechs and or mobile suits. And what's crazy, dude, is this whole thing is, Soletta doesn't kill anybody. She's this girl who doesn't understand anything and is very new to like most things in the world, it feels like. And her mom is just like, hey, you have a power that can protect us. And if you utilize that power, like, yeah, I just killed people to save you. Imagine she's like, but killing is bad. It's like, is it? Because if I didn't kill, then you'd be dead. And no one wants that. So, killing is okay if it's to save those you care about and stuff. And Sletta's like, okay. And it's just like, I guess that makes sense. And she's like, Miriam might be in trouble. And she is like, her dad gets brutally injured and she's trying to get him out of there. So Soletta goes like on full like hardcore mode, starts saving everyone, like fending off the other witches. It's actually other witches. You get introduced to the witches of Earth, who are like all these like ace female pilots that are also like they have like lesser Gundams, pretty much. They're not as
Interesting.
cool as hers, as like Soletta's and stuff. But uh the thing that comes and becomes like a big meme was at the end she has a psychic power. It's kind of in the old stuff. It's like they're called new types and it's like these evolutionary psychic people. That's not like this in this show, but you can kind of tell like she has a bond with Miorine, and she like goes to rescue her and like breaks through a wall, and there's like a guy that's like, I'm gonna kill her, and she's like, no you don't, and just like smashes this guy with her hand, with the mech hand, and it's like
Yeah,
covered
that's
in
what I
blood.
saw.
Yep.
Just
And
one day
you're
on Twitter that showed up, and I was like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?"
you're just like, holy shit, like everyone was shocked because it didn't match the tone of the entire show. It just was like,
Well, there's like something weirdly different about seeing Gundams like shoot lasers at each other and exploding versus like, I'm gonna squish all the blood out of you with my hand.
well, the other thing being is you're used to Duel of the Day and none of the pilots are dying. Like these are all students, so they all come out
True.
alive.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now you're like, oh, people are dying. And you're just like, that's the thing where the prologue is like that. The prologue is like war and it throws you off because you're like, oh, so this is going to be very warish. And then you get to the show and it's like, it's High School Gundam. And you're like, this is nothing like the prologue I just watched. Like, what the hell? But you're like, but I like it. It's different. And then you get to the end and it goes, hey, remember this is Gundam show. Remember what happens in a Gundam show? And you're like, oh my god.
Meh.
It's straight up like when it happened, everyone online straight up just went like, oh yeah, that's right. It's a Gundam show. I forgot. Like it woke you up. It just went
Yeah,
like,
basically the meme I kept seeing was like, "Welcome to Gundam." This is what it's like.
I it it made it so now you don't know what the hell is even going to happen with this show. Like it went in
Interesting.
such a cool direction where it's not like the show is far from bad. It's not amazing, but it's really fun. It's really good and it's exciting because it just keeps changing. You're like, "Oh, are we just going to be at school?" No, now an attack's happening and you're like, "Oh shit, well, maybe not it's not going to be too crazy." No, she literally crushed a guy with her hand and all the blood went out, and then she went to go help up her friend and her hand's covered in blood and she's smiling after murdering someone. And
That's horrifying.
and Miriam's literally like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then the episode ends, and then you're just like, oh, okay. They had like just made up before this, like after a thing, so they became like much closer, and then got separated because of the attack, got reunited, and now she's horrified at the person she's looking at because she crushed that person with a hand, but also saved your life in the process. So it's very just you're just kind of like, what's gonna happen here? Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Um, one dude's name is Ghoul. That's the Guel. It's Ghoul or Guel. He's the guy that lost her hand in marriage and is the one that also like is getting all the growth. At one
Mhm.
point, he even has to kill his own dad because he hijacks one of the enemy like mobile suits. So his father thinks he's the enemy and tries to
Oh.
kill him. And
Oh, shit.
in order to defend himself, he kills his dad, but doesn't know it's his dad. And he's just like,
Oh, that's horrible.
I just
Oh
killed
my
my own
god.
dad. This is like he literally is like having a mental breakdown. Where you last see him before the show ends or the season ends. So
I could see that.
it's a very intense. It wasn't an intense show until like the last two episodes, and then it went. This is very intense, and you just like I don't know what the temperature of this show is. I'm so confused. So that's why it's so interesting because you don't know. You really don't know what's going to happen. Like whereas normal Gundams, you know what the roadmap kind of is for what you're looking forward to. This one is just kind of chaos. It's just you don't know what's going to happen. Soletta is a girl that's growing up and doesn't really like you. She hasn't. She's still like space cadet. Doesn't know really what's going on in the world type girl, and you're kind of like, it's going to be weird if and when she matures in the mind of just kind of like becoming either like more I guess I don't want to say like desensitized or just like more realistic with everything, but it's going to be very interesting how she evolves as a character, but also what direction the show is going to go. Because now, like, oh, after the season ends, like for season two, when it starts, like, what's going on? Are we going into a weird like terrorist counter war? Are we going back to school? Is there going to be more corporate stuff going on? It like what direction are we going to? I don't know, and that's what makes it exciting. So, yeah, Witch from
That's pretty
Mercury,
cool.
very interesting. Only 12 technically 13 episodes if you count the prologue, which is very good. That one sold me on the show when I watched that. And then that's why I said like it sold me on the show and I watched the show and was like, what the fuck is happening? But yeah, that's Witch from Mercury. Highly recommended. Check it out. I don't know when season two will come out. Maybe it'll be this year, next year. It's hard to say because it's Sunrise, which is the Sunrise is pretty much like the Gundam animation company, and they've been doing like they were working on this recently. We had the Cuckoo's Doan's Island movie. There's the Hathaway movie that's on Netflix. That's like a continuation of like the original Gundam stuff, and I think that's supposed to get a sequel. And there's still like Thunderbolt, which is an insane show. We did an episode with like it was in one of our episodes where I had Chris Schneider and Miles Dill on talking about the first two seasons, and that still has the third and final season to go. So it's hard to say what the next Gundam project will be, but I think after the popularity of Witch from Mercury, it will probably be here sooner rather than later. And that is everything. Thank you guys for watching. That was sorry, I kept it close there. Because I was like, oh, we got like it's not 15 minutes to an hour and a half yet. It was still like 25. So I'm like, oh, it should be fine. Um,
Yeah, we still made it.
yeah. If you guys want to support us, of course, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, rate us on Spotify, or like besides subscribing on YouTube. And of course, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to or watching. If you want to follow us on social media, you can at Sutro Sidetalk, all one word, on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, which I will say I'm going to be trying out new promo stuff potentially. It might be using Canva now for creating promos for Instagram. So it'll be looking a little bit nicer, and maybe we might actually have thumbnails that I'm that I actually try for instead of just kind of going like, yeah, YouTube kind of picks the thumbnail for me. I think it might look a little bit better in the future, potentially with this episode. We'll see how it goes. but hopefully that'll draw. If you guys are just were drawn in by the thumbnail and the title for the show, and this is your first episode you're listening to, because maybe I did the change, welcome, and I hope you like this. We talk anime, games, film, and television, so that's the kind of thing we do. Otherwise, you could follow James on Twitter at InvaderJim124, and you could follow me on Twitter at GoGoComzilla. Next week, we'll be talking about Hi-Fi Rush, the game that came from Tango Gameworks, the Bethesda studio for that's now owned by Xbox. And I think I'll also talk my experience with the game Valheim. Other than that, I'm not sure if we'll cover anything else. But after that, I think we will do another anime episode, which will cover Mob Psycho's final season, as well as Spy Family Part 2. So that'll be a fun time as well. And then later on, we got things like Destiny 2 Lightfall, Hogwarts Legacy, maybe Ant-Man. I don't really. We'll see.
I'll see it.
We'll
but
probably
I
go
don't
see it.
know.
So we'll talk Ant-Man. I'm sure. Maybe some Cocaine Bear, that kind of stuff. The Last of
Yeah.
Us, TV show, I think only has a few more weeks, so that'll be coming up soon as well. So there's plenty to talk about. Until then, though, catch you next time.
Thanks for listening.